Hey everyone, I'm Olivia Thompson. I'm 17, a senior in high school, and to say my life's been a whirlwind these past few years would be an understatement. 3 years ago, my world collapsed when I lost my mom to cancer. I thought nothing could hurt worse, but life had more surprises. Dad remarried faster than I expected, bringing Karen, my new stepmother, and her daughter Megan into the picture. I tried to be hopeful, new family, fresh start, right? Wrong. From day one, it was obvious Karen had her own vision for this so-called blended family. Megan instantly became the star of the show, the golden child. And me? I was practically invisible. Olivia, honey, we're having dinner at 6. Karen would remind me, knowing full well I had work or debate club. Sure, Karen. I'll try to make it, I'd say, already knowing I wouldn't. My job at the local bookstore and my school activities became my escape. Every night, I come home exhausted, only to find a cold plate of leftovers in the fridge. Meanwhile, the scent of Karen's freshly cooked dinner for Megan still filled the air. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. Dad, did you save any of the roast for me? I asked, hoping for a shred of consideration. He looked up from his laptop, puzzled. Oh, I thought you ate at work, sweetie. There's some leftover pasta in the fridge. I bit my lip, swallowing the hurt. Right, thanks. As I microwaved the stale pasta, I could hear Karen and Megan laughing together in the living room, probably sharing another inside joke. One I wasn't part of. Dad's barely around these days, always working late, completely oblivious to the tension suffocating our house. We used to be close, but now it's like we're strangers living under the same roof. He'd ask, "How was your day, Olivia?" without even looking up from his phone. Fine, I'd mutter, knowing he wasn't really listening. The worst part? Watching Karen dote on Megan like she's royalty. Well, I'm just an afterthought. Megan gets new clothes, the latest gadgets, home-cooked meals. I'm lucky if Karen remembers to grab my favorite cereal at the store. Mom, can we go shopping this weekend? Megan would ask, her voice dripping with sweetness. Of course, darling. We'll make a day of it. Karen would reply, never once acknowledging me. I tried talking to Dad about it, but he brushed me off. Olivia, you're overreacting. Karen's trying her best. Give her a chance. A chance? It's been 3 years of cold leftovers and colder shoulders. How many more chances does she need? So here I am, stuck in this house that doesn't feel like home anymore, counting down the days until graduation. My room has become my sanctuary, filled with memories of my mom and dreams of a future far away from this place. Sometimes I stare at old family photos and wonder how things would be if Mom were still here. Would she see through Karen's act? Would she stand up for me? But there's no use dwelling on what ifs. For now, I just have to survive, one cold meal at a time. This isn't the family I wanted, but it's the one I've got. Someday, I'll have my own life, my own rules. No more leftovers. No more being treated like I don't exist. Until then, I'll keep working, studying, and dreaming of a future where I'm more than an afterthought. Because one thing's for sure, I'm done settling for scraps in my meals and in my life. But then came the final straw. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it, a Nordstrom receipt tucked into Karen's purse. $500 for a dress, for Megan. My blood boiled as I remembered Dad handing Karen money for groceries just yesterday. What are you doing in my room? Karen's voice sliced through my shock. I spun around, clutching the receipt. Where's the food, Karen? Dad gave you money for groceries, not designer clothes. Her face twisted into an ugly sneer. Mind your own business, you ungrateful brat. Your father works hard to provide for this family. This family? You mean you and Megan? I'm eating ramen while she's getting $500 dresses. I snapped. Karen ripped the receipt from my hand. Get out of my room. Now. I stormed out, slamming the door behind me, my hands shaking as I texted Zoe, need to talk. Meet me at the park. An hour later, I sat on our usual park bench, spilling everything to Zoe. Girl, you need to tell your dad, she said, her eyes wide. I sighed. He won't believe me. He never does. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Where are you? Family dinner tonight. I groaned. Great. Another performance of the Karen and Megan show. Zoe squeezed my hand. Go, but document everything. We'll figure this out. When I got home, the rich aroma of pot roast filled the air, making my stomach growl. a painful reminder of the meager lunch I'd had earlier. As I stepped into the dining room, Karen's voice cut through the moment. "Nice of you to join us," she said, dripping with sarcasm. I clenched my jaw and took a seat. Dad was already at the table, absorbed in his phone, like always. "How was everyone's day?" he asked, without looking up. Megan immediately launched into a detailed account of her day, twirling her fork in the perfectly portioned meal on her plate. I glanced down at my own plate, noticeably smaller. "Oh, Daddy," Megan chimed in, her voice set Karen sweet. "I got an A on my math test today." "That's my girl." Dad beamed, finally lifting his head to acknowledge her. "We should celebrate. How about that new phone you've been wanting?" I couldn't hold back any longer. "Are you kidding me?" I snapped. She gets a new phone for an A, while I'm valedictorian, and I can't even get new sneakers. The table fell into a stunned silence. Dad's face darkened. "Olivia, that's enough. You're being dramatic." "Dramatic?" I spat back, my voice rising. "Open your eyes, Dad. Karen's using your money to spoil Megan while I'm treated like Cinderella." Karen gasped theatrically. "How dare you? After everything we've done for you." "Done for me? What have you done except make me feel like an outsider in my own home?" Dad's hand slammed down on the table, rattling the dishes. "That's enough, Olivia. Apologize to Karen now." I stood my chair, scraping loudly against the floor. "Apologize? For telling the truth?" "You're just jealous of Megan," Dad said, his voice cold and detached. "I thought I raised you better than this." Tears blurred my vision as I turned and stormed out, Karen's fake sobs echoing behind me. In my room, I slammed the door and collapsed onto my bed, the weight of it all crashing down on me. The next day at school, I couldn't focus. My English teacher, Ms. Larson, noticed something was off and pulled me aside after class. "Olivia, is everything all right?" Before I knew it, I was pouring out everything to her, tears streaming down my face as she listened, her expression growing more concerned by the minute. "Olivia, this isn't right," she said softly. "Have you thought about talking to a school counselor?" I shook my head. "They'll just call my dad. He won't believe me." Ms. Larson sighed. "Then we need to gather evidence, document everything, and remember, you're not alone in this." A small flicker of hope ignited in me. Maybe, just maybe, someone would finally believe me. But for now, I had to go home and face another night of leftovers and loneliness. I was done with Karen's games. It was time to fight back. With Zoe's help, we started Operation Expose Karen. We set up tiny hidden cameras in the common areas of the house and kept a detailed log of every incident. "You sure this is legal?" Zoe asked as we positioned a camera on the bookshelf. "Probably not," I whispered back, "but neither is stealing." Days passed and the evidence piled up. Karen accidentally spilling bleach on my favorite sweater, Megan bragging about her new iPhone while I struggled with a cracked screen, and the kicker, Karen's hushed phone calls moving money from our family account into her personal one. Meanwhile, I threw myself into school. When I won the state writing competition, I thought maybe, just maybe, Dad would notice. "Congrats, sweetie," he said, barely glancing up from his laptop. But someone else did notice. Sarah Chen, a local journalist, reached out to me after reading one of my essays. "Your story about family dynamics was powerful," she said over coffee. "Have you thought about pursuing journalism?" For the first time in months, I felt truly seen. "I'm applying to colleges now," I told her. "Journalism is definitely on the list." Her eyes lit up. "Keep in touch. I might have an internship opportunity for you." At home, though, things were only getting worse. One night, I overheard Karen and Megan in the kitchen. "Mom, why do we even keep her around?" Megan whined. Karen's laugh was cold. "Don't worry, sweetie. Once she turns 18, we'll make sure she's out of our hair for good." My blood ran cold. I had to get out of there. The next day, I was in my room, filling out college applications, when I heard a crash from the hallway. Rushing out, I found Karen standing over the shattered remains of my mom's photo album. "Oops," she said, smirking. "Accidents happen." Something inside me snapped. "You did that on purpose." I screamed, dropping to my knees to gather the scattered photos. "Prove it," Karen sneered. Just then, Dad walked in. "What's going on here?" Through my tears, I explained everything. To my shock, Karen didn't even bother to deny it. "It's just some old photos, Jack. She's overreacting, as usual. I looked at Dad, praying he'd finally see the truth. His face was unreadable. Karen, we need to talk, he said quietly. Olivia, go to your room. I went, but not before grabbing my hidden camera from the bookshelf. Hours later, Dad knocked on my door. His eyes were red. Olivia, I am so sorry. I had no idea. I handed him my phone, showing him the videos, the logs, everything. I should have believed you, he said, his voice breaking. What happens now? I asked, barely daring to hope. Dad took a deep breath. Karen and Megan are leaving. I've already called a lawyer. Relief washed over me, but the victory was tinged with sadness. How had it come to this? As Dad hugged me, I realized this wasn't the end but a new beginning. I had colleges to apply to, a potential internship to pursue, and a relationship with my father to rebuild. For the first time in years, I could breathe again. The war was over, and I had won, but the real victory was finally being heard. The next morning, I woke to raised voices downstairs. I crept to the top of the stairs and listened. How could you do this, Karen? To my daughter, to our family? Your daughter. Karen shot back. What about Megan? You've never treated her like your own. I gave you both everything, Dad said, his voice tight with anger. And you stole from us. You manipulated me. There was a loud crash, followed by Karen's shrill voice. This is all Olivia's fault. She's turned you against us. No, Karen, you did that all on your own. The argument raged on, but I'd heard enough. Retreating to my room, I felt a strange mix of relief and anxiety swirling in my stomach. Days passed in a blur. Karen and Megan moved out, leaving behind a house that felt emptier, but freer too. Dad threw himself into making amends, but years of neglect weren't going to be fixed overnight. I'm so sorry, Olivia, he'd say, his voice heavy with regret. I should have seen it sooner. I'd nod, not quite ready to forgive, but willing to try. Then came the day Sarah's article was published. Family Secrets. A daughter's fight for justice was splashed across the front page of the local paper. My story, our story, was laid bare for all to see. The community reaction was swift. People I'd known my whole life looked at me differently, some with pity, others with admiration. Karen and Megan became pariahs almost overnight. Did you hear? Karen's been fired from the bank, Zoe whispered during lunch. Apparently, she'd been embezzling there too. I should have felt vindicated, but mostly, I just felt tired. I just wanted to be over, I told her. But it wasn't quite over. As valedictorian, I had to give a speech at graduation. Standing at the podium, I looked out over the sea of familiar faces, some of which I wish I could forget. We've all faced challenges, I began, my voice shaky. Some visible, some hidden behind closed doors. But it's not the challenges that define us. It's how we face them. I caught Dad's eye in the crowd, and he nodded, urging me on. We have the power to write our own stories, to choose resilience over resentment, growth over stagnation. When I finished, the applause washed over me, and for the first time in years, I felt truly seen. After the ceremony, Sarah approached me smiling. That internship is yours if you want it, she said. Your story. It's making a difference, Olivia. I hugged Dad tightly, holding my diploma. I'm proud of you, kiddo, he whispered, so proud. As we walked to the car, I spotted Karen and Megan in the distance, isolated and glaring. I felt a twinge of pity for them, but it passed quickly. They'd made their choices. I wasn't looking back. Ahead of me, I saw a future full of possibilities, college, the internship, a chance to help others who'd been silenced. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I was ready. After all, I'd already survived the worst. What would you have done in Olivia's place? Would you have confronted your family earlier or taken a different approach? Share your thoughts in the comments.